Let's be completely honest for a moment. You don't need another grammar textbook. You don't need to memorize a list of 500 rare vocabulary words. And you definitely don't need to download another language app that you'll abandon in 3 days. If you're watching this video, chances are your English is already excellent. Think about it. You can watch Netflix without subtitles. You can read complex articles online. When someone speaks to you in English, your brain understands every single word perfectly. But the exact second you open your mouth to respond, your mind goes blank, your throat tightens, you stammer, you overthink, and you end up saying something simple like, yes, good. While inside your head, you had a brilliant, sophisticated response ready. You are trapped in the silent English loop. Today, we are going to break that loop permanently. We aren't just learning English today, we are training your mouth to speak it with unstoppable confidence. To fix a problem, we first have to understand why it's happening. Why do you freeze up despite knowing the language? The mistake most people make is thinking that language learning is purely a mental exercise. They think if I just study more grammar, I will eventually speak fluently. But here is the scientific truth. Understanding a language is a cognitive skill. Speaking a language is a physical muscle memory. Think about riding a bicycle. You can watch 100 hours of tutorials on how to balance a bike. You can read books about the physics of cycling. You can understand the concept perfectly in your mind. But does that mean you can jump on a bike and ride it perfectly on your first try? No, because your physical muscles haven't practiced the coordination. When you spend years reading, writing, and listening to English, you're only training your input muscles. Your brain becomes incredibly fast at processing data. But your output muscles, the actual physical coordination of your vocal cords, your tongue, your lips, and your jaw, are completely out of practice. Your brain is running at 100 miles per hour, but your mouth is trying to walk. That gap between your brain speed and your mouth speed is where the anxiety, the freezing, and the stuttering live. So how do we train the physical muscles? We start with the lip sync method, a variation of speech shadowing that targets your muscle memory. Most people tell you to listen and repeat. You listen to a sentence, the audio pauses, and then you repeat it. The problem with this method is that it gives your brain time to translate, overthink, and judge your mistakes. The lip sync method is different. You choose a speaker whose voice, accent, and pacing you love. It could be a public speaker, an actor, or a podcast host. Put your headphones on, turn the volume down to about 10% or 15% so you can still hear them but also hear yourself, and try to speak at the exact same time as them. Don't wait for them to finish. Mimic their rhythm, their pauses, their emphasis, and their emotional tone in real time. Even if you miss words, do not stop. Just keep your mouth moving along with the sound wave of their voice. What this does is bypass the analytical part of your brain. It forces your mouth to get comfortable with the physical transitions between English sounds. Do this for just 5 minutes a day, and you will notice that your tongue stops feeling heavy when you try to speak English in real conversations. Now that we are addressing the physical side, we have to fix the psychological bridge. The second reason you freeze is the translation trap. When a native speaker asks you a question, your brain does a 3-step dance. First, you translate their English into your native language. Second, you formulate your brilliant answer in your native language. Third, you try to translate that answer back into English. By the time you finish step 3, 5 seconds of awkward silence have passed, you've panicked, and the conversation has moved on. To break this, you need to build a direct brain-to-mouth bridge. You need to force your brain to think in English without the native language middleman. And you can do this completely alone. It's called continuous context narration. For 5 minutes a day, wherever you are, Narrate your life out loud to yourself as if you're a character in a movie. If you're making breakfast, say it out loud. Okay, I'm opening the fridge now. I need 2 eggs. Where is the butter? Ah, here it is. The pan is getting hot. It sounds incredibly simple, almost silly, but what you're doing here is powerful. You're training your brain to connect physical actions and immediate thoughts directly to English words, completely skipping the translation step. When you do this regularly, you train your brain to treat English not as a foreign subject you study, but as a natural tool you use to describe reality. The final barrier isn't your mouth or your brain, it's your ego. It's the perfectionist inside your head that demands you speak flawless, textbook English. Let me tell you a secret. The world does not need you to speak a flawless, sterile language. The world just wants to hear your authentic story. Language is a tool for connection, not a spelling bee. When you speak to a native English speaker, they are not grading your grammar in their head. They aren't counting how many times you use the wrong preposition. They are simply trying to understand your perspective, your ideas, and your energy. In fact, some of the most powerful, influential communicators in the world speak with thick accents and broken grammar, but they command rooms because they speak with conviction and focus entirely on connecting with the listener. You cannot find your voice if you are constantly censoring yourself out of fear of making a mistake. Give yourself permission to mess up, laugh off the wrong words. If you use the wrong tense, keep flowing. Fluency is not the absence of mistakes. Fluency is the ability to keep going despite them. So, here is your challenge starting today. Forget the massive, overwhelming goals. Just commit to the 10-minute fluency shift. Spend 5 minutes using the lip sync method with a speaker you admire. Spend 3 minutes narrating your daily actions out loud while you're alone. Finally, spend 2 minutes standing in front of a mirror, talking about your goals without stopping to correct yourself. That's it. 10 minutes a day of physical, active output. Stop being a passive consumer of English and start being an active creator of your voice. If you're ready to break out of the silent English loop, type, "I am finding my voice" in the comments below so we can keep each other accountable. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for your daily dose of language fluency and mindset shifts. Train your mouth, trust your brain, and go speak your truth. I'll see you in the next video.